So I got an inquiry from a woman who recently got a puppy, and the puppy is not quite housebroken yet, still having accidents inside the house. The puppy's only like 6 months old, so that's pretty normal. However, she says that the puppy is kind of learning to use the doggy door, and she's a little confused as to why the dog has learned to use the doggy door and not so much learn to pee outside. The puppy's actually got it down pretty pat. The puppy actually really does know how to use the doggy door. But she says, I don't know, he just won't go outdoors. So how do I teach my dog to go outdoors instead of going indoors, especially when there's a doggy door and the dog could just go outside whenever she pleases? So if you have just recently gotten a puppy and you're a little confused as to what the process is like in terms of housebreaking, what to expect, how to start, all those questions, please stay tuned to this video because we're going to go through this together. I don't usually rate my sessions, but if I had a rating system for my sessions, I would definitely put this session at a 10 of 10. So right out the rip, I met with the whole family, and it's always so moving when the whole family is involved in training, because as I've said in the past, it really means that there's going to be a lot of success with this training. I've seen it again and again. A family comes to me and only one person is training the dog and the rest of the family isn't involved. And usually what happens is the dog only listens to that one family member and the other family members aren't listened to. And it creates a lot of tension in the family and a lot of fighting between me and them. And I have to keep telling them like, hey, the whole family really has to train this dog. So it's great to see that the whole family was involved. The kids were there and the kids wanted to participate. And so we're off to a great start. Now, if I know anything about puppies, you have to sort of break up their training. It's kind of like teaching kids. You can't just sort of sit a kid down and be like, do this math problem or paint this picture, right? You have to kind of break up their learning process because they don't have the attention span. And so puppies are the exact same way. If the issue is that Opihi is having accidents inside the house, then what I want to do is I want to do some housebreaking exercises while we work on some cues together. These training exercises are going to help with basic obedience, but they're also really going to help with just general impulse control, which most puppies are not very good at. We started simply by bringing Opihi over to the corner of the yard in a certain spot that we think Opihi would go to the bathroom. Once we brought Opihi over to that corner of the yard, then we asked Opihi to go potty. And so the goal here isn't necessarily to hope that Opihi will go potty. It's so that she gets to learn that cue, and over time, she will go potty in that area. Eventually, it will happen. Opihi will go pee-pee or poopy, and we're going to celebrate. We're going to make a huge thing of it because that's what we wanted. The problem that I see a lot of dog owners run into when it comes to housebreaking is that they think that there's just sort of a quick fix or a cue to teach them. And housebreaking doesn't work that way. It takes a long time and we can often relapse. So even at 6 months of age, we can expect maybe another relapse in a year of age, just because it takes dogs a long time to really understand that they can't go to the bathroom inside the house. Another struggle I have with dog owners that just got a puppy is that they think that their dog is peeing or pooping inside the house because they're being bad. Your puppy does not understand that they shouldn't pee or poop inside the house. They peed or pooped inside the house maybe once or twice, and then what happens is that scent stays there. So now they think that that's the place that they want to go. So your job is, as a dog owner, is to switch that. Where do we want the dog to go? And so there's some strange and wonderful techniques out there that you could try. I've even suggested, putting poop in a certain area. If they go to the bathroom in a certain place, take that poop, put that poop in a certain area and try to get them to show them that the poop is there. And eventually they will start getting that that's where I should poop. It sounds weird and it's very gross, but in dog psychology, it kind of makes sense. So once we showed Opihi where we want her to poop and pee, we then brought her over to practice some of our cues. Now, I wanted to start with just some basic treat games because, again, this is a puppy. We're not going to do anything complicated. We're not going to hold it down, stay. But I definitely wanted to work on some touches and also play that fun little treat from the hand game that I love playing with puppies because it teaches puppies not to go at our hands. And so a lot of owners have a hard time with play nipping with puppies. They kind of go at your hands and bite a little too hard. And so this treat game is really just the best for curbing that kind of behavior. I love practicing touches. I think practicing a touch is great for recalls. So even if it's not just with a puppy, I love practicing a touch with an adult dog. But I think it's good for human to dog bonding experience. So especially if I have a shy dog or, a dog that's been hurt by somebody and won't come near me, then touch is probably one of the first things that I'll work on with this dog. In Opihi's case, there was not any hesitation at all. Opihi came right up to my hand without an issue, snuggled it, licked it, gave it some kisses, and just loved playing the touch game. And I could see that Opihi liked playing the touch game with the whole family. Since Opihi is just a little puppy, there's going to be a lot of training involved in this, but I'm just amped, and I think the family's amped. I love training puppies because they're just a clean slate, and so I get to experiment as much as I want to. Sometimes a puppy doesn't respond to a cue or an action in the way that I think that they would, so sometimes I'm caught off guard and it humbles me. And I love that because as a trainer, I think we tend to get a little rigid and stuck in our ways, and I try to avoid that. I try to experiment and have fun with it and play with it. I'm very excited for the next session with these owners, and so I'm really excited to see what they have in store for me, what they're struggling with, what they did really well with. One conversation that I had with them before I left that I'm super stoked to see if they have noticed any difference in the way that they train is letting go of this idea of being alpha. Both of them have mentioned Cesar Millan as a trainer that they know and love. I'm not going to knock Cesar Millan. A lot of trainers will knock Cesar Millan. I'm not going to knock him because I think it's great how much he's changed over the years and how transparent he's been over that change. Cesar Millan had a lot of lawsuits against him, and so I think he probably had to, but I think it's great that he has now taken a more positive reinforcement approach as opposed to being more alpha. The reason why I think it's important to discuss dominance and alpha in animals is because us humans, we seem to get this all mixed up with masculinity and toxic behavior and femininity. It has nothing to do with animal behavior. Like, let it go, guys. Let it go. The person who invented the idea of dominance and alpha theory, his name is David Mech. Now, David Mech studied wolves in the middle of the forest in like the mid 1970s, and his theory was that there was a pecking order, there was a pack order that was established, and so they kind of fight like the ram does to gain that access to being alpha or to being dominant. In 1999, David Mech himself disproved his own theory about dominance and being alpha in the wolf pack. What David Mech discovered was that being a mama bear and a papa bear is how you gain the pack order. In other words, they had little wolf babies. And so then mama bear and papa bear became the leader of the pack. And so any other stray dog in that area, or stray wolf in that area rather, would join that pack knowing that this is mom and dad to these little puppies. And so they would stand off in terms of how they interact with the pack. So they would not try to claim a dominance over the pack. And so that's how they establish pack order. It's not through fighting. It's not how rams do, where they lock, their rams into each other and duke it out. It's simply through having little wolf babies. And so, having all that been said, if this family keeps that in mind, they're going to do just fine, because mama bear and papa bear have a great family and a great dog, and we don't need to assert our dominance. We could just be a loving mama and papa. I sure hope you guys get something from these videos. I like doing them, so I sure hope you guys get something from them. And if you do, please tune in to the next video.